Hey guys, welcome back to Dixie Belle's YouTube channel. My name is Lauren. I am the furniture flipping teacher, and I love to take old and outdated, worn out furniture and give it a new life and a new purpose. Today we are going to be making over this coffee table. It is in some rough shape. The top has got a lot of gouges on it, but we're gonna see what we can do about it and give it a new look. So I got this coffee table for free. So I'm excited to see what we can do with it using our Dixie Belle products, and we're gonna get started by using their first product, which is White Lightning, which is gonna be a TSP based cleaner. And we're just gonna wipe the top down because I am going to start by sanding everything down, and then we'll give it another clean once every single gouge is out. I've got my work cut out for me. So White Lightning is a granule, grainy substance that I actually just poured into this, and it dissolves and it makes this into a cleaner. So it's gonna come in a little container, kind of like salt looking, but it's actually a cleaner. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe that back also with my rag. This table has got some interesting character to it. They've got these extra little decorations on the sides, which I think we're gonna go ahead and do away with those on both sides. And then I'm not sure if I'm gonna be leaving this little medallion or not. I haven't decided yet, but these things just pry right off if you are interested in removing them. Again, I haven't decided. It kind of gives it a little extra dimension, so I might keep it, we'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and dry it off and get to sanding. And for the sanding, I am gonna be using an 80 grit sandpaper because I need to get down underneath the finish and smooth them out. So I'm gonna be using my Surf Prep sander here and my Festool vacuum to also help with the dust. And then I'm gonna put my mask on so that I can be protected from the dust. And we're just gonna get to sanding. So I got it all sanded down last night and it looks pretty good. Every nick seemed to come out pretty well, and it didn't take as long as I thought, so that was really nice. But now we're just gonna go ahead and clean the bottom of it since I had only cleaned the top. I wanted to get that sanding out of the way first. So now we'll go ahead and finish cleaning. I'm gonna be doing a different color on the bottom than I am on the top. Still just that White Lightning. This was just an old table sitting in someone's garage for some time, so I wanna make sure that all of it is nice and clean so that paint can adhere really well. So I did some thinking, and I actually think I'm gonna go ahead and leave these on there. It just adds that a little extra decoration, and I'm planning on distressing the bottom, so I think that that'll be a really cool piece distressed. Okay, so before I paint, my next step is going to be to remove these side panels. And I just think that it looks funky, and plus this one over here is pretty wiggly. So unfortunately, this part right here on the side panel, the screw has kind of taken apart this underside of the table, but luckily it doesn't go all the way to the top, so that'll still be salvageable. And these have little caps, and so it's gonna be a little bit difficult for me to get this out. This side is gonna be much easier than the other side because it already is coming out on this side, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get a crowbar and see if I can pry it off. Okay, we got this side off as well. We just didn't quite record it, but it came off. It was a little tougher than the other side, like I said, because it wasn't quite on there, or it was on there tighter, it wasn't loose. So the only thing is that now we've got to kind of deal with some wood splitting over here and right here. So I'll just be putting some wood glue in there and doing some clamping. And then unfortunately, I also noticed here that there is a spot that's cracking. So I think I'm also gonna have to put some wood glue and clamps on that as well. But this is gonna have more of a rustic feel anyway. So I think that, you know, just having a few imperfections, as long as I get that glued down, everything will work out just fine. So let's go ahead and get that glued, then it can kind of sit there and dry while I'm painting the bottom and before I stain the top. Okay, I'm ready to do some wood glue. This is gonna be a little bit of a tough spot to get into, so I've got a little cardboard piece and I'm gonna put some Gorilla Glue on there and then just kind of shove it in there and hope that it goes in nicely enough so that it can get some glue under there. I really don't want any on the top because I'm gonna be staining it, so that won't really help anything. And we're probably gonna have to double clamp it here so that it stays. Let's cross our fingers and hope that that works. We got all of the peeling or broken, cracked wood clamped down and glued down, so that's gonna dry. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and do one coat of paint on the base here, and I'm going to be using Dixie Belle's Cotton Chalk Mineral Paint, and it's just a bright white. It's the brightest white that they've got. They've got a few other whites like Fluff, but this one I just wanted a true white, and so I'm also going to be using the round large brush and the round small brush because, you know, just getting around these legs is gonna be much easier when you've got round brushes and you can just get in there super easily, and that'll just make the job a lot faster and a lot more efficient. So I didn't sand down these parts, and the reason being is because I want it, I've told you guys, I want this to be more of a rustic feel. So I just skipped the sanding portion and we're gonna go ahead and apply some paint. And I've got my Mr. spray bottle here as well, and that is gonna help thin out the paint just a little bit. Okay, and then I'll also use it to spray my brush and the surface that I'm going to be painting. This will just help it go on a lot smoother. Now with the white, it's probably gonna take me, well, for sure 2 coats, but probably even 3 coats because it's such a light color going onto the darker wood. First coat is finished with the white, so we're gonna let that dry for a little bit and we'll come back for coat number 2. We got some bad news. We got some bleed through. I don't know why, I just had confidence that this piece wouldn't have any bleed through, but you can definitely see it yellowing through the white paint. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the step of putting some Boss on the base, and it's white Boss, so it'll kind of act as another paint layer. So that'll be kind of nice. But Boss is going to, it's a primer, so it's gonna help block odors and it's gonna help block those stains that I see popping through. So I'm hoping just one coat of Boss will do, but we'll get that going. And then that'll dry, and then we'll be on to another coat of cotton. All right, looks like we're done with the Boss, and hopefully that's gonna block in those stains just with one coat. We'll let that dry for a little while, and then we'll come back to see if there's any other yellowing that also needs to be covered up. Otherwise, we'll get on to the cotton. So the one coat of Boss, most places worked to cover and block those stains, and I did a quick second coat only in a few spots where there was still some bleed through, but I'm confident now that it will continue to stay blocked even when I get that top coat out, because you know the top coat, if you didn't already know, the top coat is when you can really tell when those stains are gonna pop out. It's kind of backwards because you'd rather see it before you put the top coat on, since that's like the finishing touch. But we're gonna cross our fingers and our toes because I do not want to have to redo this again after the top coat. But we're gonna get the second coat of cotton on. I know it's kind of confusing. I did one coat of cotton, then a coat of Boss. Now we're going to cotton again. And hopefully this will be the last coat of paint that we need, because really there's not too much darkness popping through anymore. So let's get going. All right, looks good. And that's pretty much full coverage with that cotton. And if there are any spots that are popping out, that's fine, because I'm gonna be distressing it once this coat dries. So that's our next step. Just a light distress, I think. Nothing too crazy, but again, just the details on the little emblem here, and then the details on the legs. I'll just go ahead and distress that just a bit, and then we'll be able to get to the top. We are ready to distress. The cotton is dry, no bleed through, so I'm excited. And I like to distress before I do that top coat. That way I can just seal everything as is. So I'm gonna be just taking my sanding block to scrape away some of the paint here. I'm not gonna go too crazy, but just on the corners and maybe where it would naturally get bumped. I'm actually gonna switch over to this hand sander. I got this hand sander at Lowe's. I used it for the first time in one of my other videos. You can check it out here. I love this. It's nice and versatile. You can switch the ways it goes. So I think this will be just a little bit better for distressing. A lot more efficient. Okay, I want to show you on that side me distressing the emblem, and I want to see if you guys like it or not. All right, so all I'm really gonna do is take my sander and then go right across the front of it. Just popping out a few details, and voila. See how easy that was to just make that pop a little bit more, give it a little bit more character, and I think we're about done distressing, so I'm excited. I am going to wipe away all the dust, and then we're gonna do a top coat. So I'm gonna be using Dixie Belle's clear coat in flat. When I'm doing farmhouse and the more rustic look, I just think that it lends itself more to being matte, flat, no shine, so the satin, out of the question. So all I'm gonna do is use my Dixie Belle Fan Mini, and we're going to put a top coat on. When you're applying top coat with the white, you don't need to add any white to it because it's just clear right on. But if you're doing a darker color, I always suggest you put a tad bit of that color into your top coat in a separate container, obviously, and then that'll help you with streaking. But in this case, I don't need to do that. We're just gonna use a small amount each time so that we don't get any pooling or drips. And we're still crossing our fingers that it's not gonna bleed through. All right, we are ready though to stain the top of our coffee table. All right, let's see. Oh, that looks good. That looks good. Let's take off the clamps. See if we've got some good hold here. Oh yeah, that's really awesome. You can barely even tell. I'll just sand that glue off real quick. Heck yeah. That makes me feel better because at least it's not like a huge crack in the top of the table. You can't even tell it's there. Cool, cool, cool. And that one just kind of shoved it up as much as we could. I think the end result of that turned out really nice. And now let's stain. I am gonna be using Dixie Belle's No Pain Gel Stain in the color Walnut. This is their oil-based stain. So I have used it a few times before, but I'm gonna go ahead and pop it open. It's really easy to manipulate, and I'm just gonna give it a nice stir. And it's gonna go on pretty dark, but we'll wipe it back as well, and then it'll kind of lighten up a little bit. So I've got my applicator pad here that I'm going to apply it with. And it's just, you can find this on Dixie Belle's website as well. And it's just a squishy foam pad with some nice microfiber on top. And I'm just gonna apply some stain to it here. All these things you can find in the link down in the description. So if you're interested in trying this out, highly recommend it. It's so easy to use. So I'm just gonna wipe it on in the direction of the wood. Okay, now we're just gonna go ahead and wipe it back a little bit. It's not gonna take too much off because it really seeped into that wood. Don't you just love a good stained top sometimes? I do. I love how the wood grain is popping out. All right, the first layer is on. I think I'm only gonna be doing one layer because it's pretty dark and I don't really wanna go any darker than that. I'm just loving the feel of it. It looks really nice. I like how it's just imperfect as well. Now we just wait for it to dry. All right, so I let the coffee table dry overnight. It's best to do 6 to 8 hours for that gel stain to fully dry before you apply either another coat of the gel stain or a top coat. I am good with the color. The tint is very nice on this top, so I'm not gonna put any more. I'm gonna use my blue sponge here, and then I'm also going to be pouring a little bit into a different container just because it gets hard to put your blue sponge into once it gets down to a certain height here. So I've used some of this before on previous projects. I'm just gonna make sure to shake it all up nicely. And then I'm gonna pour it into this container here. Make sure my surface is nice and free of any dust or debris. And then we'll get to top coating. This blue sponge you can actually use with any top coat. It's actually really a cool way to put it on without getting clumps and things like that. It evens it out really well. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and go for it. Now, even though the stain is oil-based and this top coat is water-based, that's okay because again, it's completely dry, so they're not going to mix at all and it'll be all good. I'm gonna get around the edges as well as the top. I like to go one way pretty much with everything, the paint, the stain, even the top coat, because although you don't want those streak marks or those brush stroke marks, sometimes it's just inevitable, but I would rather them be going the same direction than them going a whole bunch of different directions. If I can see it, it needs to still look nice. Really want to make sure I've got full coverage here, which it looks like I do. So we're gonna let that dry now. I may be doing another coat on here. Once it dries, I'll kind of check it out, but I do want to make sure it has that utmost protection because it's a coffee table and the gator hide is their strongest one anyway, but sometimes a second coat never hurts. So once this dries and possibly another coat, we'll be ready to stage. We are ready to stage and it's nice and dry. So I'm gonna put just a couple of things on here to kind of make it look like it may look if someone else had it in their home. Just some simple decorations will do. You don't have to go overboard for your staging, but just a little example of what might look good. And then when I'm taking my photos, I'm gonna make sure to get all angles, so the legs, the detail here, the wood grain, and all of that. Let's go ahead and take some photos. So I'm gonna get down to the level of the actual coffee table to get some photos. If I did it, I do wanna do a top picture, but if I did it from only up here, it wouldn't really accentuate those details. So I just wanna make sure to get as close to those 10 photos that Facebook Marketplace will allow me to post. And then I'll go ahead and unstage it as well and make sure to get the top so that they can see that it's in nice shape as well. And that should do it. And then on my listing, I will make sure to have dimensions, and then I will probably just be listing this for under $100. I got it for free. I want it to go pretty quick, so I'm thinking around the $80 mark. Let's cross our fingers yet again with this guy and hope that it sells pretty soon. Well, 3 hours later, and this is out of here. They are coming to pick it up in just a couple hours, and they've already actually paid me Venmo full price. I had it listed at $80. They asked if I'd take 60, and then I said I'll meet in the middle and I'll take 70. It just depends on how you're feeling that day. Usually I harp on saying be patient, the right person will come, they'll want to pay full price, but this one I honestly wanted it out of here quick and I had gotten it for free. So all of that is going to be profit. So I am excited to know that farmhouse is still in style around here. I hope you guys were able to learn a little bit about just the gel stain and how easy that is to apply. Also, remember that if you think that your wood is going to bleed through your paint, be sure to put that Boss on first before you do your coats of paint. As you can see, this Dixie Belle No Pain Gel Stain can really revitalize this wood, and it is so easy to work with as well. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you're not already, get subscribed here on Dixie Belle's channel, but also head over to my channel, Furniture Flipping Teacher, and also follow us on Instagram at Furniture Flipping Teacher, and we would love to show you guys our journey and take you alongside with us. We'll see you next week for FFT Friday, and I'll see you on the flip side.